Retroblasting is a YouTube channel for adult pop culture enthusiasts. Anyone under the age of 13 should only watch this channel with your parents. Retroblasting is not a children's channel. I have to make this into this using only this.
I don't intend to drive around in a car that talks back to me, so either Devin pulls your plug or you get yourself another driver.
So this is Will's Knight Rider 2000 from Kenner. Will and I met at Retro Toy Con in South Carolina, and he handed me this box. He'd had it with somebody else for a few months trying to get the sounds to work again, and they hadn't worked on it, and so he wanted to give it to me to see if I could fix it. Now, this has been one of the more demanded restorations in Retroblasting's history, so I was interested to help, of course, because while I've done the restoration on the Imperial Troop Transporter, which has the same mechanism, people don't seem to understand that, similar mechanisms are in multiple toys. So if they don't see me actually repairing a Knight Rider car, they don't know how to do this. And it's interesting to me that always seems to be the case. They want to see it on the actual toy itself, even though the mechanism is the same. So here we go. We're going to try and get the sounds working again on this Knight Rider 2000 from Kenner. This is, of course, the top shell. I think it's intact for the most part. I'm going to try and leave this alone because it's a very brittle piece until we put it back together. So I'm going to set that over there. We have our windshield here. I'm going to leave that over here so that we're not dealing with that. We have all these parts and pieces, the doors, clips, screws. I'm going to leave that over here for now until I figure out what I'm looking at. This vehicle was already disassembled when it was handed to me. Normally I would disassemble things myself, but I don't know if it was the owner or the person he gave it to was going to work on it, and they got so far as disassembly and then they obviously gave up. So I don't have a tutorial to disassemble it for you, but I will put it back together once we figure out what's going on with it. This is the main mechanism with the speaker box for the sounds. Now, this might look familiar to you if you've watched my Imperial Troop Transport repair for Tom Burgess. It is the same housing. It has the same motor on the far end with the pin that I used the pencil eraser to get started. It's got the screw in the middle that's going to create tension for the sound effects itself. And then on the underside is where the record disc system is supposed to go. Now, here's the pin that's going to pull the sounds along. It does have an intact rubber band along the edge. So my first thought or step is to try and get this band safely back around this pin so that we can test it with a battery or two. So that's what I'm going to do first. I don't want to break this rubber band. And I also know that this rubber band is 40 years old. So we want to be real careful getting this rubber band back. So what I've done first is I've kind of pulled it over this little detail here on the housing to just get it away from the disc. That way I can get a grip on it to pull it around this pin, which is the center spindle for the electric motor. Now I have here a punch that I often like to use for other applications because it's not sharp and it has a smooth edge to it. It's really like a wood punch or a nail punch, but sometimes I like to use it to get around like a rubber band like this safely. It's not sharp, and if it slips off, it's not going to have a sharp edge at the very end like, say, a flat-headed screwdriver. So it's not going to damage this band in any way. And of course I lost my grip on it. Okay, it wants to go around the pin. So I'm just trying to give it some encouragement. And I think that's it. I think it's around the pin now. Yep, I can see the band. It's hard to see through here, but if you look through this hole, you might not be able to see this on camera. The band is now around the far outside edge of the pin. Okay, now we want to make sure that this is properly screwed down. So I'm going to search in here for the right size screws for this. Let's hope they're in here. Alright, so I see some smaller screws, and I'm going to have to probably... Okay, I have this screw here, which is smaller. It goes to this for sure. I guess for the purposes of our experiment, I'm just going to put it in the far end and hope for the best. Get to use my nifty setup that Melinda got me for Christmas that I showed on the live stream, because my original screwdriver that I used for a long time finally gave up the ghost. Alright, maybe there's only one screw that goes in there. I feel like there should be another screw right here, honestly, but maybe they didn't include that with this, because sometimes Kenner would leave out screws. Like in the X-Wing, they wouldn't put all 4 screws in the wing assembly. It would just be 2. So maybe it's just the one. I'm not about to pop that pristine example open to find out, though. Okay. So we have that in place. Now, what I want to try and do here, and that looks a little odd with those cables just sticking out of the back like that, but maybe that's the way it was. See, these cables right here are just sticking out the back underneath the seam to this unit, and I just don't know if that's correct, but I don't know of anywhere else the cables could go. They obviously have to come out the back of the unit. Alright, well, we're just gonna let that ride for now. Okay, this is the activation button, which more than likely is going to line up somewhere with this license plate assembly, because you have to pull this down to push the button. So if this is the button, that means it has to go this way in the housing. Wants to slip underneath these two come on. There we go. That looks correct. I know this is hard to see, but it's tight quarters under here, so I'm doing the best I can just to try and get this back where it's supposed to. I don't like those cables being caught under there. Okay, that's better. Now it's not sitting on the cables, the wires. We don't want it sitting on the wires. All right. That's seated properly. I wish I could have shown you how that works, but they're sort of like two tabs that the two mouse ears on this end of the mechanism sit under, and then they slide under that, and then it sort of snaps down into kind of a cradle. And then you can see when I push down on the license plate, it pushes this up, because what it's supposed to do is push the button, and when I hold it down, it pushes the button, which then activates the record player, which I know that's hard to see, but I can see the record player diaphragm pushing up when I push the license plate down, so I know we're in the right spot. There's a screw here on the bottom that I need to secure to make that happen. I'm assuming it's this short screw, but I could be wrong about that. Let me look at the bottom of this Knight Rider car here. Yes, it's a larger screw, which matches the one I picked out. So it's going to be the short, stumpy screw with the large screw head on it. Alright, so there it is here, and we're just going to use our, I need a bigger screwdriver. Let's try this one. Okay. Now that's secured down. Okay, good. All right, the battery compartment is in the front. It's underneath a kind of engine detail here. So we need to pry that up with a flathead. So I'll just pull out a flathead extension. There we go. We do have a Duracell in here, but it feels rather loose. I'm going to assume this battery is dead and grab a new C-cell. You know, that thing really isn't. Wow, that is loose. I'm not sure why. I would have thought that battery would have stuck in there a lot better, but all right, well, let's just see if it'll do something. No. Well, it's possible that it needs some encouragement, like we did with the troop transporter. With the pencil eraser method, we're going to put that pencil eraser on the end of this metal pin right here and spin it and try and get this thing to operate. Now, this may or may not work, so I'm holding this down. I'm holding the license plate down, trying to get this thing to spin. Now the pin is pushing inward for some reason. And unfortunately, I can't see if the band has popped off because I can't see the underside of the mechanism again. So let me undo that. No, the band is still around the pin. Okay, what this may require is me taking this housing back off, which I don't want to do because then suddenly the band is going to come off. This is why these systems are so finicky. All right, we have a battery in here. We have this pressed down. That's not wanting to go. I need to get this motor spinning. I'm spinning this with my fingers, just trying to get the motor to engage. But if the battery connectors are oxidized, it won't matter, because that battery won't be making enough contact to make this thing work. I don't think there's any power getting to this thing. So after about 4 to 5 hours of just staring at it and fiddling with it, and I'll show you this in close-up from footage I took with my phone while I was working on it, this took a lot of concentration and trying to figure out how this old technology worked. Now, I have gotten it to a point where it will speak on command and it will say 2 of the 4 phrases repeatedly. For whatever reason, I cannot get it to say the turbo boost line, unfortunately, and the infrared line only happens once every 100 tries. And I'm exaggerating. I haven't tested this 100 times. I don't want to wear it out. But I have no idea, because it came to me already disassembled, I have no idea how the record itself was treated during previous repair attempts. Now, I'm not an expert in this mechanism. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I had to learn everything as I went today because the repair method with the pencil eraser just didn't work. So what I've determined is that there is a copper lead. It's a copper connector that always has to be engaged for this thing to work once it's assembled. I could get the motor to spin, no problem, when that connector was pushed up against the wire. But I couldn't figure out how to make it connect when I had this thing together. And then I learned, well, if I push it permanently, in other words, if I put it in permanent contact with the wire, and then put everything back together, and then put a battery in it, it works like it's supposed to. So clearly, at some point, the copper connector became pushed away from the wire, and that's what caused all these problems. Now, like I've said, I've gotten it back to working order, but this is not in any way a robust or reliable voice system. It is literally a record player. So the result I've gotten, I'm going to call it a success because it's working as intended, even if 2 of the phrases aren't engaging. And I have no idea why that would be. This is a common issue with the Imperial Troop Transporter. It's a common issue with this Ozen record player system, this voice system. So I'll just demo this for you real quick, and I'll get it over here next to the microphone so you can hear it.
Call me Kit, for short. Your reflexes are slow.
Those are the 2 phrases I can get it to say.
Call me Kit, for short.
And I tried to use different speeds of pushing the button, different delays. I got the infrared thing to happen once.
Your reflexes are slow.
Now this center screw right here is one of the ways that you change the pitch of the voice, because it's changing the tightness and tension of this speaker diaphragm within the speaker housing. So first you kind of dial it in that way as close as you can, because the position of it also determines the pitch based on where gravity is pulling down or pushing on the diaphragm itself. So like right now,
Call me Kit, for short.
seems too fast. Flip it over,
Your reflexes are slow.
it's a little more normal. But once we get it in position in the car, that's where things change. And that's where this piece comes in. That thing that I thought was a battery compartment, which it's not, it turns out to be another pitch adjustment. This switch is going to come up through the bottom of the car, and this clip right here is going to clip around this switch so that I can move it like this after it's already in the car and fine-tune the pitch of the voice. So I dialed it in as much as I could here, and now when I put it in the car, it's going to change it again a little bit. So I shifted it or adjusted it or configured it for the middle of the switch setting, and now I'll have room to play with it when I get it in the car. So these 2 little mouse ears are going to tuck under some places right here in the back trunk of the car, and that's going to lock this thing into its proper position. There we go. So that is now seated. Let's test our... Let's put our battery back in and make sure that the button and the license plate are working properly. Oh, crap.
Call me Kit, for short. Your reflexes are slow.
All right, so that's working good. All right, so now we have to get this switch in here. This area right here is where the switch has to come through. So I might have messed up a little bit putting this in here early. I might have to pop it out. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to pop it out again. All right, so you have this round switch right here. And we have to get this clip around it, oriented this way. And I'm not sure how they intend this to go. I guess that's about as secure as it gets, unless it's supposed to go underneath. But I don't think so. Let's gently position it there and then see if we can get it to fit. Ooh. Okay, that looks good. The switch is in place. The question is the... Oh, look at that. We got lucky. Everything's in place. The switch is now in place so it can be adjusted. And we're going to need that to finalize Kit's voice pitch. But first thing we're going to do is use that fat screw and put the sound box in place so it doesn't move around. All right, that's holding that down. Now let's test the voice again.
Call me Kit, for short.
Doesn't sound like it really needs any adjustment.
Call me Kit, for short. Call me Kit, for short.
Notice it's only doing one noise though.
Call me Kit, for short. Your reflexes are slow. Call me Kit, for short.
All right, let's adjust it.
Call me Kit, for short.
Okay.
Call me Kit, for short. Call me Kit.
The battery had fallen out of place. See, this whole system is really finicky.
Call me Kit, for short. Call me Kit. Your reflexes are slow. Call me Kit, for short.
Now I'm adjusting the tension on the speaker.
Call me Kit, for short.
I am not a huge fan of this this car.
Call me Kit, for short. 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 Call me Kit, for short.
I don't know why it's now only doing one phrase. I mean, this thing is just it's so finicky, and it's just a ghost as far as you're just chasing gremlins in this system.
Call me Kit, for short. Your reflexes are slow. Call me your call me Kip. Call me. Your reflexes are slow. Call me Kit for short.
So if I do it real quick, it says reflexes are slow. Ironic. If I do it slower, if I push the button slower, it says call me Kit.
Call me Kit for short.
Or not.
Call me. Your reflexes are slow.
So this is as good as it's going to get, but at least it's working somewhat. So let's put this car back together real quick and hope that everything pans out. All right, so we have our door frame here. We have our front bumper clip still on the frame of the car. So what I'm going to do is leave that there. This is the windscreen. The windscreen has two screw, what do you call that, alignment extensions. And they go towards the, I guess it's the front of the car right here. So they're going to go right here when all is said and done. That looks correct. So that needs to go up into the car this way. So that's going to align over this peg. Just thought I would clean this out a little bit real quick, give it a basic scrub down before I put it back together, because some of these areas are a little hard to reach. So I've cleaned out the interior of the car of dust and debris. I don't know where this particular kit was stored when it was waiting for repair, but it looks a little better now. This isn't going to be a perfect specimen unless Will decides to really polish it with some Novus or something like that. But let's just put it back together, because all the Novus work can be done by just taking the body off and scrubbing some of this down, and especially the outside. Once the outside's clean, everything else is going to really pop. All right. So we have our body here, and we've got our electronics working, hopefully.
Call me Kit for short.
Yep. So now we're going to take this fuselage or chassis or whatever you want to call it and lay it down over the car, all while trying to maintain the windshield staying in, which I'm trying to figure out if there's some secret to that, because I don't want it falling out in the middle of the vehicle. Alright, looks like once I get the body down over it, it'll just stay. Okay, there are 4 clips on the door frames, 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side that we have to push these tabs down into. But we also have to make sure that everything stays aligned so that the screw holes are functional. Now this is an interesting. Okay, there's 1. We're pushing that in there, and 2. Three and 4. So our clips are aligned. One. Go diagonal. Come on. 2. Whew, that's nerve-wracking. Door frame is 3 so thin I don't want to accidentally crack or break any part of it. Last one. 4. Okay. Oh, that wasn't fun. All right, the car's back together. Bumper's on there fairly solidly. We're going to shore that up with some screws. All right, so we have 2 screw holes at the top, and we have 2 screw holes at the bottom, and we have 5 screws. So I'm thinking there is another screw somewhere around here that I hope I haven't forgotten, because I really don't want to take this apart again.
Look at yours.
One, two, three, four. No, there's no screw there. Oh, 5. So there's one right behind the front driver's side tire. All right, no time like the present. Remember not to over tighten these screws on any old plastic toy. You just want to get them taut. You want to get them just tight enough, just hand tight, and then maybe an extra 1/16 of a turn. You don't want to over torque vintage toy screws. You do not want to strip these holes.
Call me Kit for short. Call me Kit for short. Call me Kit for short.
That might end up being all this thing says. I don't know if there's damage to the record. I'm not sure. I wasn't there when it was disassembled, and I don't know how it rattled around in the box. So,
Call me Kit for short. Your reflexes are slow.
but again, it's working now. All right, last step is to put these doors on, and the doors still have both their pegs, thank goodness. But you still want to be careful. The doors fit into clips. One is in the floorboard of the car, in the footwell, and then the other one is going to be at the A-pillar, right under the A-pillar of the door jamb. So you just want to go real slow, because these doors have a tendency to crack as well. You really don't want that to happen either. All right, that's one. And it's in. Come on, clip in there. Really? Oh, this is where I get nervous. I don't want that door clip to break off. It's fighting me. Oh, God. Okay, that was nerve-wracking. That was nervous. That was unsettling. Okay, there we go. The doors are on the Knight 2000, and Will told me his David Hasselhoff figure is back at the ranch, wherever he lives, so we're gonna... Oh, the battery probably just... Yep, the battery's out of alignment.
Your reflexes are slow. Your reflexes are slow.
Okay.
It's very meta.
It's probably just the battery. Let's try it again.
Your reflexes are slow.
Yeah, the battery alignment in the battery compartment of the Knight 2000 is really, really poor. So if it gets out of alignment at all, it's one of the loosest battery compartments I've ever experienced on a toy. The door itself is really tight, but the battery placement itself is really loose. So if you're having some speed problems, check your battery connection first.
Call me Kit for short.
which makes me wonder if I close this door.
Call me Kit for short.
Yeah,
Call me Kit for short.
which means maybe I can speed it up, maybe.
Call me Kit for short.
Yeah, using the adjustment lever at the bottom fixed the problem.
Call me Kit for short.
You'll be chasing that speed though, because this is a 37-year-old system at this point. This is a 1983 toy, so...
Call me Kit for short.
Well, that was one of the hardest electronics repairs I've ever done on Retro Blasting, and I've done a number of really intricate repairs on Kenner motors, but those Ozen record players out of Japan, the same type they used in the Imperial Troop Transporter, got even more complex when they did the Knight 2000, and I didn't know what I was staring at. But thankfully, it's back together. It is working at the push of a button. It might not have access to all 4 phrases, but that's probably because there's some damage to the record itself. I do not know what condition the record was in when it was originally disassembled. It might just be that it magically fixes itself one day after it gets used a little more. Who knows? But yeah, this has been really interesting. I know it's one that you guys have been asking for a long time to see repaired. And thankfully, Will was able to provide us with one unexpectedly. He just walked up at Retro Toy Con and handed me the box of parts. So we're going to send this Knight 2000 back to Will, and hopefully he can give it a good home in his Knight Rider collection. So thanks for watching this, guys, and we will see you on the next video.